Welcome to Woah Drama Stories. We indulge of speaking of day-to-day troubles of human beings. Let's not wait any longer and start with the video. I go after my children as fast as I can when I hear their frightened screams. What exactly is going on? My eyes well up with tears as I cry, terrified that something has happened to my children. Answer me, I stutter as I try to get to my children. They gaze at me in terror and they take off their headphones, which are far too big for their heads, and burst out laughing. In the video game, we were just shot, and he did not cover me. Mom, it's just a game. You should see how you appear right now. They gaze at each other giggling and grabbing their bellies as if nothing could be funnier than this. Do not ever do this to me again. It scared me. Who will take care of you if I have a heart attack? Huh? Sorry, Mom. You asked us to play, so that is what we are doing. Playing. We did not mean to scare you, we promise. They look sad. I must have yelled at them too much. I do not like seeing them sad, especially if it is because of something I said or did. Play nice, okay? They both say okay. They are good kids. I do not have to be overly strict with them, and they listen to me and are very mature for their age. They have holidays, and I'm working from home and raising them. Everything was turned down. Everything was suddenly quiet, almost too quiet. This is the most terrifying sound a mother of energetic and boisterous children can hear. The sound of solemn quiet. I'm yelling, "Kids, what exactly are you doing?" There's no response. Do you want to go buy some ice cream? Silence. They didn't say anything. I dash off to see how they are. I rush into the room, but they are nowhere to be seen. Kids, it's not amusing. Where did you go to hide? Come outside, please. Otherwise, there will not be any ice cream. Guys, come out right away. I search every nook. Beneath the beds, in the closet, in the pantry, in the kitchen, outside in the backyard, in the basement, and in the bathtub for them. They love playing with water. I cannot seem to find them anywhere. Despair washes over me and my entire world collapses. My sweet, adorable, innocent children. What happened to them? What are they up to? Are they okay? Safe? I'm sobbing and raging at the same time, not able to see through my blurred vision. I begin tossing things around. I can feel them in the house, so I know they are there. I believe I sense the presence of another person as well. Who is this person? Where have you gone, my babies? Please come to your mommy. I'm sobbing, tears streaming down my cheeks to my feet. The heaviness in my chest is killing me and making it impossible for me to breathe. Ha 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 ha. The corridor is filled with children stomping, giggling, and muffled laughter. I'm rushing as fast as I can, hoping to find my kids and make sure they are safe. I am in the corridor, but I cannot find them. Where are you, kids? I can hear what you are saying. Please come back to me. Please do not play games with mommy right now. I'm raging at this point. Are my kids trying to make fun of me? Are my kids laughing at me? I've never felt this rage so intensely. Where does this anger come from in me? I grab the vase and throw it on the wall. Hopelessness, sadness, despair, emptiness, and anger consume me more and more. Mommy, please stop. Don't worry about us. We are fine, my children tell me. I turn around, and they are standing in the hallway with frightened looks. Why are you hiding from me? Do you enjoy scaring me? I told you not to scare Mommy, I asked them in a desperate whisper. No, Mom, you're the one who left us. Grandpa tells us you went to heaven, but we keep telling them you are right here with us, but they don't see you and they do not believe us. They think we are making all the mess. They think we are lying to them. Mommy, you can go to heaven now. We love you. We are fine. Story 2. I, 29 female, have been dating my boyfriend, now ex-fiancé, 32 male, for 4 years, engaged for 1. Since I needed funding for my startup business, I had to work at a few 9-to-5 jobs, which honestly sucked, but for the business to stabilize, I had to work a very tiring and unhappy job. I mostly couldn't pay for our dates. I would pay for my meal, but the extravagant dates that he would plan sometimes would make me feel very inferior and just bad in general because I couldn't do the same for him. My dates to him would just be takeouts. FYI, he didn't have a very good job either, but he had a rich family background and was the kind of person who would spend more than they earn. As COVID came along, he lost his job and my business took over, which he was insecure about at first, but I assured him that I was more than capable to take care of him, and I did. When he was looking for work, I supported him, and I never rushed him or anything. In between the looking for work, I found Tinder on his phone. When I asked about it, he just said it was to find new friends, since his friends all moved away because of the pandemic. And you know what? I believed him, and I thought he was really lonely. I even felt guilty because I thought we weren't spending as much time as he wanted, because of my business, so I believed him. I bought a house. It wasn't very rich or big at all, but it was exactly what I wanted. A very cozy place that I could call mine, which has always been a dream of mine, and we moved in together. I paid for it entirely. Also, he never got that job. He would play video games all day, would never even care about finding a job, and wouldn't help around in the house either, with groceries, in the kitchen, or any other chores. Which again, I told him about helping out, but didn't push him on it. Sometime around Thanksgiving, I found the texts and the credit card purchases for motels and meals for two. He's been cheating on me for 3 months. He's been lying to me, going behind my back all while I worked to give him a better life, while I cooked, cleaned, and did his laundry. So when I asked him to move out, expecting him to move out quietly, he questioned me, why should I? Basically, he had found a loophole which worked in his favor, meaning the house was his as well. I obviously couldn't live there for a second more. I lost my house, and the lawyer agreed with the loophole and that he couldn't do anything about it. I was so full of anger. This is something I had worked for all my life, and this piece of garbage just took it away from me like it was nothing. Trust me when I say if he wanted to, he could just buy another and a better house. His family is extremely rich. I wanted to take something away from him too. I called his parents the next day. His parents are very nice and the kind of people who always rooted for us and our future, and genuinely loved me as their own. And trust me when I say I could hear their face turn red in anger through the phone when I told them all that he did to ruin my life. They were so ashamed of his behavior, and I honestly felt so bad for them, but they said they would pay me back for the house, which did help me breathe a bit better. 2 days later, I got angry texts and calls from my ex, which I never responded to, saying I ruined his life because of what I told his parents, which made them cut him from their will. I don't want to sound like a bad person, but I'm very happy about what happened to him. You don't get to ruin my life and expect no consequences. Story 3. My dad practically gave me up to his sister from the moment 27 male was born. My mom died when she was giving birth to me, and my aunt told me he never recovered from that because he blamed me for her dying. It hurt a lot as a kid that at family events he would ignore my existence. When I was a little older, he got more vocal about me killing her, and he can't stand to look at my face. You can imagine the amount of therapy that put me in. I used to go to church crying because I was scared about going to hell for doing that to my mom. That's how much his words fucked me up. But the shitty part was that I never stopped trying to be accepted by him. After my high school graduation, he told me to never bother him again, since he legally has no obligation to me anymore, since he was sending my aunt money to take care of me. Around that time is when I finally started accepting that reality, so from there we moved on with our lives. My aunt doesn't talk to me about him. Sometimes my grandparents do, and that's how I found out he got married. They were mad he didn't invite me to their wedding, but to me it didn't matter because we're not close. But it was his wife who wanted to meet me. It's the first time ever that he wants to make contact, and it was to pretty much to say she wants me in their life. She doesn't know the real reason about why we are estranged. He asked me to please not say anything, and maybe this could be a way to reconcile after all. But he was only doing it for her. That much was clear when we talked. I never said I would, but he still insisted on us meeting at their place because she really wanted to meet me. All she thinks is we were estranged for not getting along in my teenage years, going to college and losing touch because of life stuff. It pissed me off that he played it off as us just not talking for petty reasons. Meanwhile, the actual reason damaged me for years. I told her the truth, everything he said to me, that he was never a parent to me, which was all my aunt. It was definitely a shock for her. The outcome was a disaster. Everyone has heard about this now. My grandma, in particular, told me she understands my anger, but this was his chance finding someone since losing my mother, and now it's been put in jeopardy. My dad is devastated. They think it was going too far to ruin his marriage that way when he was willing to include me in their lives, which could have been the start of our relationship. As they say, not only did I ruin that, but also possibly wrecked his marriage. She just doesn't agree at all with what he did, and it could have been avoided if I didn't say anything. For me, it was hard to not tell the truth after the lies made it seem like it was nothing serious. I couldn't ignore what happened after what it did. I don't know if it was the right call since it put their whole marriage at risk after all. They're splitting up. Heard it first from my grandma, then from his wife, or I guess ex. She was legit crying on the phone when she called to tell me sorry for putting me in that position. Her and my dad had a longer conversation where he told her everything else he did, so she made that decision she can't stay with someone like him. And she wanted me to know how disgusted she is. Also to tell me thanks, which is something I really needed to hear. My dad is who he is, yeah, but regardless, two people splitting their marriage because of what you said is a hard thing not to feel guilty about. This lady is heartbroken, going through divorce just a few months after getting married, and she wanted to make the time to reassure someone else that they made the right choice. Unexpectedly, though, my dad wanted us to talk yesterday too. My girlfriend, again, didn't want me to. Trust me, I get her point. She's the one who didn't want me having dinner with them in the first place. For one thing, we didn't know what he wanted to talk about, and what would that do to my mental health. It was probably a bad risk to take, but I met with him. And yeah, should listen to my girlfriend more when it comes to this stuff. First time in my life, I think we had a conversation about my mom, how much he loved her, them being happy and excited about having a family. But then she died, and he told me even if it's wrong, he can't ever not blame me because simply, if I hadn't been born, she'd still be here. He's only sorry for not completely staying away from me and saying horrible things growing up. While he wasn't saying this to be malicious, since he seemed sincere, it was still hurtful for me. In the end, we decided having a relationship with each other was never going to happen, and said goodbye. He at least apologized for trying to put me in that position. First good thing he ever did was tell me what happened with his wife wasn't my fault. Then I just went home and cried. Had a day to process, a short therapy session and support from both my aunt and girlfriend to get me through. The rest of my family is leaving me alone, at least. So glad that in the end it was resolved. Not a total happy ending, I know, but in the end it's better this way. Story 4. My parents divorced when I was 2. Mom married Vince when I was 5. I remember when my mom got married. Vince recited these vows to me about how he would be the best dad ever and how he would make sure he was there for everything, no matter what. At the time, it sounded so forceful to me. I had a very active dad. I lived with him every other week. I saw him more often because he would show up to all my school plays and stuff. I knew I wouldn't be with them all the time, and it felt weird being told he was going to be my dad now. It never occurred to me to think of him as a dad. During the wedding reception, my grandma took me up to the room I was sharing with her and my grandpa, and I called Dad. Vince came up around that time and asked me why I had called him on his and my mom's day. He said I was breaking his heart calling my dad Daddy when I still called him Vince. My grandma had to tell him to back off. He told her he was the parent and he had more of a say than me. Once the wedding was over, I really felt his resentment towards my dad. He was super forceful too. When I was with him and my mom, they would pretend I had the same last name as them. If I corrected them, they would say at their house I was Vince's last name and not Dad's last name. It bothered me, but there was little I could do. He did a lot. He'd drive me places, take me out for dates and all that stuff. But it was always about him being my dad and me being his daughter. He would make it awful every time I went back home to my dad. Pretty soon, Dad's house was home and Mom's house was Mom and Vince's house. My dad and Vince argued a lot. I think my dad tried to protect me from him, but Vince would tell me how my dad was mean to him and how did it feel having my old dad hurt my new one, etc. During this time, Dad gave up on dating. He had one relationship that ended because she was jealous of me having a mom in my life, and years after he told me he hadn't wanted me to deal with 2 step-parents, or 2 houses where lots of changes were happening, and new people were coming and expecting instant families. He knew it was a lot for me with Vince. Today, I am 26 years old and am getting married. I have contact with my mom and Vince still, but it's fractured, I won't lie. I asked my dad if he would walk me down the aisle with my fiancé, and if he'd dance with the both of us. My fiancé is very close to him and has no family, Knowing Vince and my mom, I decided to sit them down and tell them my dad was filling the role solo. They didn't take it well and tried to tell me all the reasons they felt Vince deserved it. I told them Vince was nowhere near as deserving as my dad, who actually was a much better parent than they could ever dream of being. My mom pointed out I was their only kid, how they lost every pregnancy they had together, and how Vince has tried so hard to win my love. He was just mad I didn't think he deserved it. He told me I was refusing to look at his place in my life in a realistic way. I told my stepfather he wasn't as deserving as my dad to be father of the bride at my wedding. My words might have been harsh here, and really, given our relationship, dumb. I know he's jealous of my dad, and I know he has desperately tried to carve out this relationship with me that he has always wanted to have a father-daughter one. I never saw him that way. I never let him into my heart, and now I have shot him down pretty hard with this wedding.